Discovered, how a millionaire's daughter's remarkable act of kindness changed everything forever. Emma stared out the tinted window of her sleek black SUV, the vibrant display of manicured lawns and designer boutiques just a backdrop to her internal struggle. At 23, she was the apple of her millionaire father's eye, but within the gilded cage of success, she felt utterly alone. Around her, laughter echoed from upscale parties, but to her, they sounded hollow. She craved something deeper, a connection, a purpose, a life worth living beyond the confines of wealth and expectation. Driving aimlessly through her picturesque town one sunny afternoon, Emma's eyes caught sight of an old diner, Maggie's Place, its flickering neon sign barely hanging on. The peeling paint and grimy windows told stories of a bygone era, and something stirred deep within her. As she stepped inside, the rich scent of coffee and freshly griddled eggs enveloped her, and her heart melted at the sight of Mr. Thompson, the diner's elderly owner. His worn hands gracefully swept over dirty plates, but it was the warmth in his eyes that drew her in. "Hi there. Welcome to Maggie's," he greeted, flashing a smile that sparkled brighter than the fancy chandeliers she was used to. As Emma sipped her lukewarm coffee, Mr. Thompson shared tales of how the diner had been a refuge, a beacon of hope for the community. He spoke of families that had turned into friends, laughter shared over burgers, and moments of rescue wrapped in a simple meal. Listening to him, Emma felt a spark igniting within her. She was moved by his dedication, by how he poured his heart into this place, unlike the empty parties and lavish fundraisers she had attended. Inspired, she saw that the diner represented something pure, something real in a world fueled by status and wealth. With newfound determination, Emma decided to organize a charity event to save the diner, rallying the entire town for a night of nostalgia and community spirit. Although she was excited, the moment she mentioned it to her friends, she was met with sneers and laughter, dismissing Maggie's as just another greasy spoon. Disapproval clung to her, tighter than her designer dress, and she felt the societal pressure hanging in the air between them. "Emma, you know the kind of people that go there, right?" One friend sneered, and Emma's resolve began to wobble under the weight of their disdain. As the event date approached, she faced mounting resistance, raising questions within her: could kindness truly break through the walls of privilege she was surrounded by? On the night of the event, a brewing storm clashed with her hopes, water pouring relentlessly from the sky. Just as she thought all was lost, Mr. Thompson stepped up to the mic. His voice trembled as he recounted his story of sacrifice, resilience, and love. The heart of the diner pulsed through every word, spilling a warmth that cut through the torrential downpour. As tears filled her eyes, Emma stood torn between two worlds: the riches she had known and the rugged spirit of hope she found in Maggie's. All eyes were on her when something clicked. Would she hide behind her family's expectations, or allow the magic of this connection to transform her life? Before we continue, I need to let you know about something important that's happening. YouTube has been making changes to the system and many people are losing notifications from channels they follow. If you're enjoying the content, hit that bell and mark all notifications so you don't miss the next videos. And if you can drop a like, it really helps me with reach. Seriously, it makes a difference. Oh, let me know in the comments where you're watching from. I'm always curious to know who's on the other side of the screen. Now let's continue. As the chaos of the storm mirrored the conflict in her heart, Emma knew the moment for change had arrived. The clash of old expectations with newfound purpose hung heavier than the clouds above. Certainty faded, but for the first time, she felt alive. What path would she choose? As the storm raged on, and the future of the diner, and the woman she wanted to become, hung in the balance. Emma took a deep breath, the storm outside roaring like the doubts inside her. She felt her heart race as she stepped to the front of the stage, the mic cold against her fingertips. In that moment, the noise of the rain faded, and all that existed was her connection to those gathered. There was no polished gala here. Just people searching for hope, warmth, and a meal that carried memories. With her voice shaky at first, Emma began to speak. "I know this place seems ordinary," she started, her eyes flitting over the crowd. "But Maggie's is extraordinary, isn't it? It's where we gather, where life's ups and downs are shared over coffee and pancakes. It felt strange to be revealing her passion in front of a crowd who largely lived off the sheen of excess. But it felt right too, she recalled Mr. Thompson's stories. The families that met each other here, the hard times eased by a simple meal. The faces of the townspeople, barely visible in the dim light, began to soften as they listened. Emma pressed on, her nerves transforming into a fierce conviction. I grew up with everything I could want, yet I've never known something as precious as the bond you share here. Silence enveloped the room, like a blanket of shared understanding. She saw a nod from a mother in the back, a smile from a teenager who had likely spent many weekends at the diner with friends. Emma found strength in this tenderness, a flicker that sparked a light in her heart. The truth is, we cannot let this place disappear, she continued, passion igniting her voice. Maggie's isn't just a diner. It's a memory keeper. We can't let our town lose this. Thunder rumbled in response, but Emma plugged on, channeling her anxiety into urgency. Let us not forget that true wealth isn't about money. It's about the love we give and the community we create. Let us save Maggie's by simply loving it back. A ripple spread through the audience. She could see hands clapping slowly, then a few voices joining in, first a man near the bar, then a group by the window. The applause grew until it filled the space, creating its own kind of thunder. Mr. Thompson's eyes sparkled with grateful tears as he walked back up to the stage, placing an old diner apron over her shoulders. You've done something magical tonight, Emma. Thank you. You've brought us all back home. In that moment, Emma felt like she belonged somewhere for the first time in ages. The confidence she drew from the crowd radiated through her, and with it came the fear what would happen if she failed. But she pushed it aside. The storm outside faded to background noise as warmth filled the diner, a collective spirit radiating hope. The next morning, Emma woke up with a renewed sense of purpose. She couldn't just sit back. Not anymore. If she wanted to change the narrative, she had to dig deeper, bravely face the world outside her privilege. Emma grabbed her phone and sent out a message to the diners she had met the previous night, inviting them to join her for a brainstorming session to brainstorm ideas to revitalize Maggie's. She knew the town wanted to rally together, but now it was time to put plans into action. Just as she hit send, her father's name flashed on her screen, demanding her attention. She hesitated. His calls were often filled with demands of future parties, expectations, and a slew of social engagements that never quite felt right. But as she gazed out at the storm clouds beginning to lift, Emma wondered what kind of fight lay ahead, not just for the diner, but for the path she was destined to forge for herself. With a deep breath, she answered the call, bracing herself for whatever was to come. Emma, came her father's voice, as stern and polished as ever. We need to talk about your future. Your image is at stake. His words hung heavy in the air, contrasting sharply with the exhilaration still pulsing in her veins. Would she stay bound to her gilded life or embrace the freedom found in the heart of Maggie's? The storm had passed outside, but Emma felt a new one brewing within, one she would have to face head-on. What choice would she make, and would she have the courage to stand up for her newfound calling in the face of family expectations? Emma clenched her jaw, her father's voice slicing through her resolve like a knife. Emma, you need to understand the legacy we're building here. Your mother and I have set a standard. You can't just throw that away for a diner and some sentimental nonsense. The mention of legacy nudged the deep-rooted doubts again. She wanted to scream that she wasn't throwing anything away, that Maggie's was something worth fighting for. But instead, she stayed silent, weighing his words against the emotion from last night's speech. She could hear her heart pounding, echoing in the quiet spaces while her father continued. You need to be seen in the right circles, Emma. We have plans for you. And frankly, you're ruining the family name by being tied to a place like that. His words stung, though they didn't penetrate as deeply as they once would have. Emma pictured Mr. Thompson, the laughter of families sharing a meal, the warmth of the diner. It all clung to her like a shield. She took a breath. Dad, I'm not ruining anything. Working to keep Maggie's afloat is far more valuable than attending the next gala. It's about community, about people needing this place. The silence on the other end of the line was deafening. She could almost hear the gears in her father's mind turning, calculating the fallout of her defiance. When he finally spoke, his voice was low, laced with disappointment. "You'll regret this when you realize what's at stake. Think carefully." He hung up before she could respond, leaving her staring at her phone. The weight of his expectations settled on her shoulders. But just then, the flicker of her phone drew her attention back. A series of messages flooded in from the diners she had reached out to, their excitement palpable through the screen. "Count me in," one said. "Can't wait to brainstorm," another wrote. Familiar names filled the list, people she had shared stories with, laughter, and treasured moments over plates of fries. They were beside her now, apple pie warmth against her father's icy grip. Emma felt the spark reignite a fire she couldn't extinguish. She grabbed her jacket and headed out, the brisk air hitting her like a reality check. She was heading to Maggie's, not just for a brainstorm but for something deeper. A commitment to a cause larger than herself. Once inside the diner, the smell of coffee and fresh-baked goods wrapped around her like a hug. The familiar ambience felt strangely like home. A group was already gathered at a table, their expressions ranging from eager to concerned. She joined them, placing a hand on the table to steady her racing heart. "Okay, everyone," Emma started, her voice stronger now. "I know we're here to brainstorm ideas, but I want us to think bigger. This isn't just about saving Maggie's. It's about bringing our community together." Nods of agreement rippled through the group, filling her with renewed energy. Someone suggested a fundraising night, dinner specials featuring stories from the locals. Another proposed a volunteer day for renovations. The ideas flowed, growing more ambitious with each suggestion, but then Sarah, a waitress who worked at Maggie's for years, raised a hand hesitantly. "What if we can't find the funds? What if it's not enough?" The air grew tense, a collective hesitation shadowing the room. Emma chewed her lip, suddenly aware of the steep hill they had to climb. What if Sarah was right? Would all their passion lead to a dead end? Emma spoke up, her voice steady but filled with warmth. "It's going to be a fight, that's true. But every fight starts with a choice to stand up and be counted. And isn't that what we're doing here?" The room erupted in murmurs of agreement, and for the first time, Emma felt the weight of possibilities instead of fear, but as hope filled the space, doubt still lingered at the edges of her mind. What if her father was right, and they didn't have the resources to see it through? As they continued brainstorming ideas, Emma realized she would have to confront that fear and the looming specter of family expectations head-on. That meant risking everything she had known and taking a leap into the unknown, and yet, somewhere inside, she felt that the greatest risk would be to turn her back on the people who inspired her to fight. With every plan shared, the heartbeat of Maggie's echoed in her mind. This was about more than just saving a diner. This was a movement, a chance for real change. Just as laughter bubbled up from their table, a fleeting but powerful sound of hope. Emma's phone buzzed again. A new message appeared, a name that sent shivers down her spine. It was her father, the subject line simple but potent: "We need to talk." Emma swallowed hard, feeling the weight of the moment pressing down on her. Would she choose the family she had always known or the community she was beginning to love? The next chapter of her life loomed ahead, and she was still standing at the fork in the road. How could she balance the two worlds pulling at her heart? What choices would she make to forge a path that felt right for her? Emma stared at the screen, her father's message pulsing like a warning light. The weight of her decision pressed heavily on her chest, mingling with the warmth of the diner surrounding her. She looked around at the faces of her friends and supporters, the familiar smiles that had lifted her spirits just moments ago. What would they think if she backed down? But what if he had a point? "Emma?" Sarah's voice cut through the haze of her thoughts. "You okay?" "Yeah, just thinking," she replied, shaking her head slightly to clear it. "I'm not going to let this stop me. If anything, it makes me want to fight harder. But uncertainty gnawed at her. As they continued to brainstorm, Emma's enthusiasm felt like a mask. Each laugh, each brilliant suggestion felt increasingly fragile against the backdrop of her father's stern expectations. "Let us set a date for a fundraising event," someone suggested. "A community dinner with a talent show. We can sell tickets and have people donate if they can." Cheers erupted around the table, but Emma felt a lingering shadow. "That's a great idea. But..." She hesitated. "We'll need a venue, supplies, and a lot of support. Are we ready for that?" Fingers flew across phones, text messages flew out, coordinated plans were made. The energy buzzed through the diner, it was electric. Yet, in the pit of her stomach, Emma felt a storm brewing. "Hey, I'll contact the local businesses," offered Matt, a local mechanic who always made time for the diner. "They might be willing to sponsor us or donate supplies." The room erupted in excitement, but Emma felt the weight of her father's warning pressing down again. As plates clanged and laughter erupted from the other tables, she suddenly felt out of place. Could they really pull this off? Would it be enough? Suddenly, her eyes caught the corner of the diner where Mr. Thompson was laughing with a couple of kids. Their joy felt contagious, and for a moment, she forgot everything except the pulse of Maggie's and the people who believed in it. "All right, let us do this," she declared, feeling a rousing cheer build in her heart. "We're going to make this happen, for Maggie's." As they discussed plans for posters and the talent show format, Emma's phone buzzed again. Another message from her father. Her heart lurched as she opened it, bracing for confrontation. "I expect you at dinner tonight," read the message. "You can't ignore this issue." She stared at the words, feeling a swell of urgency. Was this a demand? Or was it a genuine attempt to communicate? She thought of the hopes she had for Maggie's, the community it represented, and the weight of her father's legacy. "Emma?" Sarah's voice broke through again, this time softer. "Are you sure everything's okay?" Emma felt a well of emotion building, teetering on the brink of tears. I just need a moment." She stepped outside, the cool air wrapping around her as she breathed deeply. Her heart raced, the pressures of two worlds colliding swirling in her mind. Maggie's represented everything that fueled her spirit, but her father represented a legacy she had never truly wanted. As she stood in the evening light, a thought struck her: what if she could find a way to bridge the two? What if she brought her father to the fundraising event? It could be the moment she showed him that Maggie's wasn't just a diner, it was a lifeline. But another flicker of doubt knotted her stomach. Would he undermine all of their hard work? Would he refuse to be a part of it? "Emma!" shouted one of the voices from inside. "Come back. We're making some big plans." She hesitated, torn between these possibilities. But she knew one thing: this was a turning point. A moment where she could decide how to define her future. With her father's words echoing in her mind and her friends cheering her on, she returned to the table. "Okay, everyone, let us take this to the next level. I have an idea." As excitement swirled around her, she realized she wouldn't just be fighting for Maggie's, she was fighting for a chance to unite the values of her family with the dreams of her community. Could she really balance those worlds? What would her father say when he discovered the truth of who she had become? A new spark ignited within her, propelling her forward into the unknown. "Come tomorrow, this diner will share part of my life I've kept hidden." Emma's voice was firm, yet filled with uncertainty. Could she be brave enough to invite her father into her new reality? The plan was set, and the next chapter awaited, filled with both trepidation and hope. The next day dawned bright and bustling. Emma moved through the morning with a mix of excitement and apprehension. The diner was alive with the usual breakfast crowd, but today felt different. The weight of her plan sat heavy on her shoulders. Could she really do this? As soon as she entered, Sarah was already hard at work, hanging up flyers for the fundraising dinner. "Look at this one!" she exclaimed, holding up a colorful poster adorned with bright lettering and cute drawings of musical notes. "This is going to grab everyone's attention." Emma smiled, her heart lifting a little. "That's awesome. It's perfect. Just what we need." She glanced around, noting every detail: the way the patrons chatted, the clinking of silverware, the aroma of freshly brewed coffee filling the air. This was home. "Hey, I've got some great news," Matt chimed in, sliding into the booth across from her. "I talked to a few local businesses. They're on board to sponsor." A wave of relief washed over her. "Really? That's amazing. What did they say?" "They're excited to help. The bakery down the street is willing to donate desserts, and the hardware store is offering to lend us tables and chairs," he responded, his eyes glimmering. "See?" Sarah said, teasingly nudging Emma. "Things are coming together. You're going to show your dad that Maggie isn't just a diner, it's a community." Emma nodded, feeling a flicker of hope ignite within her. But at the back of her mind, her father's message loomed large. "Yeah, but I still have to decide how to invite him," Emma said slowly, a frown crossing her face. "What if this pulls everyone apart instead of bringing us together?" "Hey, you're not alone in this," Matt said. "We're all in it together. Just think of the impact this could have on the whole town. You can show him that your vision for Maggie's can honor his legacy, too." The door swung open with a jingle, and in walked Logan, a popular musician from town, with his guitar slung across his back. The chatter turned into whispers, excitement rippled through the diner. "Wow, look who it is!" Sarah exclaimed. "He could totally be a headliner for the talent show. What do you think?" This was exactly the kind of boost they needed. Emma felt another rush of inspiration. "Logan," she called, waving him over. "We're holding a community fundraiser, and it would mean a lot if you could perform." Logan's eyes lit up. "Count me in. I love this town, and I'd do anything for Maggie's." As they discussed the details, Emma felt something shift inside her. She was no longer just planning an event, she was weaving her community's dreams into reality. A solid feeling of unity surrounded her, and for a moment, the tension eased. But just as things were finally looking up, her phone buzzed again. She hesitated, but couldn't ignore it. Another message from her father. "I hope you'll be ready to discuss our plans tonight." Her stomach twisted. The weight of her upcoming dinner loomed over her like a dark cloud. Would it all come crashing down? What would she say? "Emma." Earth to Emma. Sarah's voice snapped her back to the present. "Sorry." Just Emma sighed, trying to gather her thoughts. I don't know how to handle this. I want to show him everything we're building here, but his words, they stick with me." "Remember," Matt said seriously, "you're fighting for what you believe in. If he can't see that, maybe it's time for some tough love. You don't have to agree with him on everything." A shiver of doubt ran through her, but she nodded. "You're right. I'm going to approach it like I'm doing this for both of us." As they moved back to preparations, Emma couldn't shake the feeling that this dinner was destined to change everything. She just hoped that instead of pushing them apart, it would unite two conflicting worlds. In that moment, as music began to fill the diner, she could almost hear the future calling her. Was she ready to face her father and show him the person she had become? A storm was brewing, and the winds of change were rising, leaving Emma to wonder, could one evening truly reshape the course of their lives? The hours crawled by in a dizzying flurry of activity. The preparations for the fundraiser wrapped Emma in a whirlwind of hope and anxiety. She helped Sarah arrange tables, hung twinkling lights along the walls, and rehearsed her speech in her head 100 times over. With each laugh shared, each task completed, the fear of the dinner faded slightly, replaced by an undercurrent of anticipation. As evening approached, the diner transformed into a vibrant space, pulsating with energy. The scent of homemade pies wafted through the air, mingling with the sweet notes of laughter and joyful chatter, creating a comforting cocoon around them. Emma stood in the center of it all, heart racing, but steeling herself for the moment ahead. "Are we ready for this?" she asked, standing before her friends for one last check. "Ready as we'll ever be." Sarah grinned, adjusting a strand of hair that had fallen loose. "This is our night." "Your dad won't know what hit him." Matt leaned in, his voice urging but gentle. "Just remember what we're doing this for, Emma. It's more than just proving a point." She took a deep breath, grounding herself in the support of her friends. "Right, it's about the community. It's about Maggie's. It's about all of us." The importance of what they were doing swelled in her chest. The diner began to fill, the crowd buzzing with excitement. Familiar faces from the community gathered, some holding tickets, others smiling as they greeted longtime friends. Emma smiled back, her heart lifted by the warmth around her. This was what she wanted her father to see: the heart of Maggie's, the people who relied on it, and the love that poured from the diner into the town. As the clock ticked closer to the event starting, her fingers trembled nervously over her phone. Her father's message still loomed in her mind, an unwelcome specter on what should be a joyful night. She couldn't keep avoiding it. If tonight succeeded, she would have the basis to stand firm when they talked. Logan took the stage, his guitar slung low across his chest, drawing eyes and silencing the diner with a soft strum. He started to sing a song about dreams and community, and Emma felt the energy shift. This was at the moment she could finally demonstrate what Maggie's represented. She joined the applause, feeling buoyed by a sense of belonging. Then she spotted him, her father, entering the diner with an air of authority. Dressed sharply, an expression of concern painted across his face, he was nothing like the joyful people around him. Emma's heart sank, her stomach tightening painfully as he scanned the room, finally locking eyes with her. "Don't panic. You've got this," she whispered to herself, swallowing hard. But the weight of his presence reverberated through her, its pull both familiar and frightening. In that instant, Logan's melody faded into the background. She felt exposed, vulnerable under her father's scrutiny, as the singer's heartfelt lyrics began to blur with her racing thoughts. Friends around her still laughed and joined the music, blissfully unaware that a storm was on the horizon. "Dad!" she called, taking a step toward him. The crowd parted, and all eyes turned toward her. A few gasps whispered through the room, curiosity igniting around her. "Emma, we need to talk," he replied, his voice steady, yet tinged with concern. Her heart raced as she felt the momentum of the evening halt, anticipation heavy in the air. Would this night evolve into the breakthrough she was hoping for, or would it spiral into a confrontation that threatened all she was fighting for? Emma took a deep breath, the weight of the moment pressing down on her. This was it. "Before we talk, can you just listen?" Emma said, her voice breaking through the tension. "Let me show you what this means to us." But would he understand? Would he be willing to listen? As music swelled around her, the question loomed: could love truly bridge the gap that lay between them? Emma felt the air thicken around her. A heartbeat. Just one. Her own. Surrounded by a sea of familiar faces, their eyes eagerly awaiting the moment that seemed to stretch endlessly, she took another deep breath. Logan's song faded as she stepped closer to her father, the tension rising like steam off a simmering pot. The joyful sounds of evening crowded in the background, the laughter of friends, the clinking of forks against plates, the warm, inviting aroma of food. None of it felt real to her. All that mattered was the man standing in front of her, a figure of authority, obligation, and the father she had wanted to impress for so long. "Dad, please," she started, her voice wavering but resolute. "Look around. This is Maggie's. This is home." She gestured dramatically, inviting him to take in the vibrant scene: the families, the couple sharing a plate of fries, the kids sneakily grabbing slices of pie. Here, at this diner, people weren't just customers, they were community, support, laughter. This is what her father didn't see: the heart beating underneath the layers of dishes and the endless cups of coffee. "Emma," he interrupted, his tone sharper than she'd expected. "I understand what you're trying to do, but this isn't going to change anything." Her heart raced, the sunny atmosphere darkening a shade. His skepticism stung. "But it should. It can't just be what you think. It's about how we impact these lives." "Impact?" he echoed, a thin veneer of disbelief creeping into his expression. "Yes. Look at Matt helping Sarah down with that table. Or Mrs. Hargrove chatting with Mr. Dunn." She gestured wildly, feeling more and more on the edge. "This isn't just a business for us. It's a gathering place, a sanctuary. I want you to see that." He took a step back, eyes narrowing slightly as if deciphering an intricate puzzle. She could almost feel the gears clicking in his mind. "You're not going to convince me by showcasing a few happy faces, Emma. What happens when the money runs out? This isn't sustainable." His words felt like a physical blow. Emma blinked hard, her cheeks flushing with vulnerability. Was that what this was all about, the idea that nothing could withstand the fragility of dreams? "Sometimes it's not about what lasts forever," she whispered, more to herself than him. "Sometimes it's about the moments, the connections we create." Silence spread over the diner. Logan, sensing the shift, strummed a soft tune, easing the weight. Emma felt her friend's eyes on her, supporting her, rallying behind her even in this moment of tension. Her gaze fell back on her father. He looked weary now, the authority he carried suddenly stripped away, revealing a hint of uncertainty. For the first time, she thought he might be listening. "Just come listen to my speech," Emma implored, her voice steadier now. "You'll hear everything I believe and more about why this place matters. You might even begin to understand." His brow furrowed as if weighing the possibility. She could see the tiniest inkling of doubt in his eyes, a crack in the armor he wore so proudly. And just then, a little girl nearby squealed in delight as she made her way to the counter, where a mountain of whipped cream awaited her. Laughter erupted around them, and for a fleeting moment, shadows lifted, revealing a connection so fundamental. Emma held her breath, heart pounding painfully in her chest. Would her father find a way to open up? Could she finally bridge the gap that had always seemed too wide? Or would this evening end in a fractious silence that rooted itself even deeper? "Maggie's is more than a diner, it's a lifeblood," she breathed out, daring to hope. "Will you at least hear that?" As she awaited his response, the crowd's laughter seemingly hung in the air, filled with hope. Would he finally embrace this part of her life? But then, an emergency siren blared outside, slicing through the diner's atmosphere, creating unease. The moment felt fragile, so easily interrupted, and Emma's heart sank. What lay ahead? Would her plans disintegrate? Would her father leave, or would this unexpected interruption bring them closer somehow? Everything hinged on this tenuous moment, in the glow of those fairy lights and the richness of the community around them. Emma's heart raced as the sirens pierced through the diner's familiar comfort. It felt like every joyful moment they shared had collapsed into tension, the laughter of the patrons now replaced by a shared anxiety. She stole a glance at her father, his expression a mixture of concern and confusion. "What's happening?" he murmured, eyes darting toward the window. "I don't know," Emma replied, trying to mask her worry with a calmness she didn't feel. "But let us see." She stepped over to the window, her heart heavy as she pulled back the curtains. Outside, flashing lights painted the street in stark red and blue. A small crowd had gathered, their murmurs turning into concerned whispers. Emma could see EMTs gathering their gear, moving with purpose. "Should we go check?" her father asked, surprising her with a hint of urgency in his voice. Emma turned, barely able to conceal her astonishment. "Yes. Let us go." There was a sense of unity in his willingness to act, and she stepped out into the cool evening air, her father beside her. Once outside, the warmth of the diner faded, replaced by a chill of uncertainty. The crowd was thick, vibrating with unease. Emma felt small, lost among familiar faces now twisted into expressions of worry. What if someone was seriously hurt? As they edged closer, they could overhear snippets of conversation. A man had collapsed, and an onlooker was talking about how the diner was packed when it happened. Emma's stomach knotted. A wave of vulnerability washed over her. This was her home, the place she wanted to protect and celebrate. But how could she feel pride when tragedy was unfolding right in front of her? "Let us get out of the way," her father said, his voice low but firm. But Emma felt rooted to the spot. Just then, the little girl with the mountain of whipped cream from earlier rushed past, her small hand holding her mother's "Mommy." She cried, looking back at Emma with wide eyes that flickered with fear. Emma knelt to meet her gaze, giving her a reassuring smile. "Everything is going to be okay," she said softly. "Just stay close to your mom." The girl nodded, but Emma could see the tremor in her lower lip. "What are you doing?" her father asked, a hint of frustration in his tone. I have to help." Emma breathed. She could feel it deep within her, the urge to extend the warmth of Maggie's, the sense of community, into this moment of fear. Her mind raced through the possibilities. "Right now? You want to help?" "Emma, the EMTs are trained for this." He hesitated, both wanting to protect her and doubting her intentions. "I know, but they're here to save lives, not hearts," Emma whispered. "I can offer something different. Just trust me." For a heartbeat, their eyes locked, and Emma held her breath, willing him to understand. Seeing the concern etched on her features, her father's expression began to soften. He let out a slow exhale, relenting, and took a small step back. "Fine. But stay close." Gathering her courage, Emma moved through the crowd, her heart thrumming with each step. She caught sight of the man who had collapsed, now surrounded by the EMTs. His face was pale, and Emma could see the fear in the eyes of those close to him. "Water. We need water for his throat." Emma called out, instinctively raising her hand as a few patrons from the diner rushed to her side. "Hold on!" someone shouted. "I'll grab some cups." Her father stayed nearby, watching her in a way that made her chest swell with pride. As people moved quickly to help her, she could feel the atmosphere shifting. The community wasn't just here to witness, they were here to care. In that moment, everything felt alive. The fear faded into a warmth that spread through her, fueled by purpose. The diner, the place she loved, was becoming a sanctuary again, against all odds. But suddenly, a shouted command from one of the EMTs pulled her attention back. "We need more room. Clear out." Emma's heart dropped. What did that mean? Her gaze flickered back to her father, searching for reassurance, but she could see the worry creeping back onto his face. How was she supposed to help when the stakes were this high? As the crowd shifted, Emma felt the distance between her and her father grow, just as it had in their earlier conversation. But now, drenched in uncertainty and surrounded by their community, she understood one thing: the moment wasn't done yet. Could her father truly understand her connection to Maggie's? Would he see the power that bound them all together? The sirens echoed once more in the distance, and Emma steeled herself for whatever was to come next. Would her efforts break through the barriers that separated them? Everything hung in the balance, teetering on the edge of understanding. Emma's heart pounded louder than the sirens outside. The shouts of the EMTs blurred into a background noise as she focused on the man on the ground. She could see his chest rising and falling as the medics worked, but something about his pallor sent a shiver down her spine. Emma pushed forward, determined to be close, desperate to be part of something bigger than herself. "Let us keep the area clear, please." Another EMT called, breaking through her thoughts. Emma inhaled sharply as she stepped back slightly, reluctantly yielding to the voice of authority. But she couldn't shake off the sense of duty burning within her. Turning to the crowd, she noticed faces she recognized, neighbors, regulars at the diner, the kind that came to know each other's stories. Fear knitted their brows together, but most of them were now shifting uneasily, caught in an anxious stillness. The warmth she once felt in their shared company seemed to dissipate in the face of uncertainty, and that realization stung. "Here!" A voice rang out as a woman with a kind smile rushed forward, cups of water spilling over the edge of her trembling hands. Emma rushed over, helping to catch them before they hit the ground. Despite the chaos, the act felt meaningful. "Thank you," Emma said, her voice filled with urgency. The woman nodded, her eyes shimmering with relief, as they passed the cups to the EMTs. "Keep talking to him," Emma called out again from behind the crowd, her voice steady even though her hands shook slightly. "He can hear you." The paramedic working on the patient spared a glance. "Stay back, ma'am." Emma stepped back but felt the ache of frustration in her chest. What more could she do? The world around her swirled in a haze of concern and sorrow. Her father's face was a mix of pride and fear as he watched her take charge, stepping further into her role as a communal beacon, and then, a small voice cut through the gloom. "Daddy!" A little girl had slipped past her mother, drawn by the commotion. Emma's stomach dropped. Where was her mom? Instinct kicked in. Emma hurried to the girl, kneeling to her level. "Hey there, sweet girl. Are you okay?" "I'm scared," the child admitted, her voice shaking as tears pooled in her eyes. "Me too," Emma confessed softly. "But look around. Everyone is working hard. They're going to help that man, and we're all here together. You know what? Why don't we say a little prayer for him?" The girl nodded, her small hands clasping in front of her, and Emma closed her eyes as well. She didn't usually pray, but in that moment, the act felt powerful. "Please help him," Emma whispered. The crowd stood still as if collectively holding its breath, and in that silence, Emma felt a sense of unity. They were all strangers, yet they all shared this weight. She opened her eyes, glancing around, the feeling of connection blossoming in the air. Suddenly, a shout from one of the EMTs jolted her back to the moment. "We need a stretcher over here." Emma straightened up, her heart racing again. Hope and dread battled inside her as people parted to adjust. She held her breath as the moment of truth unfolded. Would the man be okay? As the stretcher arrived, Emma caught sight of her father again. His face had grown paler, reflecting the weight of the situation. Staring intently at Emma, it seemed he was seeing her in a way he never had before. For a split second, she hoped he might understand her heart, see that she wasn't just a young girl, but a young woman ready to embrace the world. But just as she reached out for him, a shout erupted, catching her off guard. "We need another pair of hands here." Emma turned instinctively toward the sound, her heart lurching. What did that mean? Could she take part in this? A stretcher's not just for the guy anyone can help. Emma urged herself as she shifted forward. Would her father support her again? She glanced back towards him, searching his eyes for the connection they almost bridged just moments ago. Did he see who she could be, a part of the community that thrived on love and support, and in that vulnerable moment, she was ready to step in, no matter the cost, but what would that really mean for her relationship with her father? Would they finally understand each other? The taut air vibrated with possibility, and as Emma took a deep breath, she realized change was on the horizon, ready to sweep them all along with it. Emma's heart raced as she stepped closer to the scene, the air filled with uncertainty and hope. The sirens faded into the background, replaced by determination. She could feel the weight of the crowd's attention, and it enveloped her like a warm blanket. "Get ready!" An EMT shouted, his focus intense. Emma's eyes flickered between the crowd and her father, who still stood on the edge, a mixture of worry and pride battling in his expression. The enormity of the moment created a connection that felt palpable. Would he finally see her? "Let us lift him!" a voice cried. Emma leaned in, adrenaline coursing through her as she teamed up with others holding the stretcher. The energy changed. The crowd became something greater, a community united by a single purpose that it felt like magic. Together, they raised the stretcher with an unmatched precision. Emma found herself navigating the rush of the crowd. The thrill of coming together eclipsed her earlier doubts. This wasn't merely about a diner, it was a chance to weave lives together through kindness. But while they worked, a moment of fear for the man's life darted through her mind. What if they failed? Yet, the little girl she comforted moments before flashed back to her. Stay strong, there's hope here. Emma thought. She could feel her father's gaze, now steady, a silent testament that he was witnessing the very spirit of Maggie's emerge from the chaos. As they carefully placed the man on the stretcher, the crowd breathed a sigh of relief. The EMTs began to carry him away, urgency evident in their movements. Emma turned back toward her father, searching for acknowledgement, for connection. She yearned for him to see the heart of what she was fighting for, then she saw it, a flicker of understanding in his eyes. You've got a good heart, Emma, he finally said, quiet yet strong. But as soon as those words left his lips, another emergency vehicle arrived, noise bursting forth into the stillness. The EMTs had just begun working on the man when a different urgency filled the air. Emma felt her heart hitch. Stay alert, everyone. Someone called out. Panic rushed through her again as she realized they could be losing precious seconds. Suddenly, her father's hand clasped her shoulder firmly. Let's give them space, he urged. You're doing great. She took a breath, letting his words wash over her like the warm glow of the diner, filling her with courage. Hold on to that moment. There was love in that support, evidence of a connection slowly forming. After the man was loaded into the ambulance, Emma breathed deeply, allowing herself to finally exhale the nervousness that had built up. Cheers erupted from the crowd, a collective sigh of relief filling the air. While people celebrated, she turned to find her father watching her, a newfound respect rippling in his expression. Emma, he began, taking a step closer. I didn't realize. Me neither, she interrupted, the words spilling out like a torrent. This was about more than just Maggie's. It's about the love we create around us when we come together, no matter where we started. Watching you care, that's the kind of legacy I want. Not just riches but true connection. His eyes softened, and in that moment, she felt it, walls crumbling. You're right. I've been so focused on what our family has built that I missed what truly matters. Thank you for showing me. The warmth from moments spent in the diner rushed back to her, wrapping her in contentment. She could see it now, the energies of both worlds merging, the warmth of community, the legacy of family, all fueling one another. Let us go back inside, Emma said, a smile stretching across her face. Her heart raced, not from nerves but from belonging. As they re-entered the diner, laughter filled the air once more, coalescing with the joyous chatter like a beautiful symphony. All around them, friends embraced, children played, and the essence of life blossomed. Hey, everyone! Emma waved, her voice rising above the noise. I want you all to know that we're just getting started. We need to keep giving back to this community. The crowd cheered again, embracing the passion that filled the room, and in that moment, Emma knew they could overcome anything together. Her father stepped closer to her, and she saw the warmth in his eyes. I'll help, he said without hesitation. Let's make Maggie's a thriving place for everyone. Heat washed over Emma, tears of joy brimming in her eyes. This was the transformation she'd hoped for. Not just for the diner but for their relationship, a bridge built over love, connection, and community, now together. Thank you, she said simply, her heart full. And that's when she turned to the vibrant crowd, her friends and family all gathered. Let us do this together. Community, legacy, and love, we can carry them forward from here. Applause erupted again, powerful and rising, wrapping around her like layers of devotion and commitment. On that night, Emma learned that sometimes, connections forged in the heart could inspire change far beyond her expectations. As she looked around, she knew this was just the beginning. The dream she held tightly was about to come to life. Suddenly, an idea sparked in her mind. Let us raise a toast. She grinned, raising her glass high. To Maggie S. Let this be the start of a beautiful journey ahead. Around her, glasses clinked, and laughter echoed, warmth filling the diner, igniting a flame of hope that burned brightly through the night. This was the legacy Emma had dreamed of, building a new chapter woven together with purpose, compassion, and love, a testament to what could be achieved when a community came together. So now, here's your chance to be part of something special. You need to subscribe now to keep up with our next exclusive stories. Leave a like to feed the algorithm that brings these tales to life. Comment your reactions to this powerful ending and how you feel about Emma's journey. And don't wait not even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this inspiring transformation.